How is it going? And good morning. This is Dr. Jonathan Locust, CEO of Rise. We are back with another episode of How We Heal Know Your Stars. We got Dr. Jeannie. Dr. Jeannie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Hello, Dr. Jonathan. Hello to everyone. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, as you all know, Dr. Jeannie is one of our expert practitioners who expertise lies in evolutionary astrology. This came after a career as a project manager in the IT space for over 35 years, and really got to the point to where she not only knew her stars, but then wanted to be able to show how others can know their stars. Because one of the things that she shared with me is whether you know what's happened astrologically, it's still happening.
Right.
So we are absolutely elated to be with you all again. And let me just ask, Dr. Jeannie, how are you doing this morning? How are things coming along with you?
Things are great. I continue to follow my stars. And with that, sure, I have the valleys, I have the ups and the downs, but I always know when the next peak is, and that's a key part of knowing your stars. There's some major energies going on in the sky this month, Dr. Jonathan, and we're going to delve into those. We're going to talk about Walt Disney. And the reason is that we're talking today about the Sagittarian solar season. So we're leaving Scorpio and we're coming into the holiday season. And Sagittarius really is the holiday season. Santa Claus is known to be a Sagittarian in
Mm.
astrological circles. So we think Santa Claus and we think jovial. And we think about the quest for the meaning of life. So more about that to come. We look at Walt Disney. And we're going to spend some good time today, Dr. Jonathan, talking about Pluto's ingress, transit, if you will, into the sign of Aquarius. We've been waiting for this for some time. It's been 2008 since we started looking forward to this period of time. And it's going to bring a lot of social change, a lot of change for everybody. So we're going to delve into that a bit and more exciting things also in store for all of our listeners. We hope you stay tuned throughout the whole podcast today.
Absolutely. Well, and then even as Dr. Jeannie gets ready to share her screen, I'll mention that Disney is one of my favorite companies, not only because of the history that they've had, but just with the mergers and acquisitions that they've done with Marvel. Some of my favorite characters in
Mm,
Marvel, Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. So
me
all of
too.
those different ways how they've been Pixar, right? How they've been able to not only look at these different companies that could fit their portfolio strategically, and then be able to have all of these different not only companies but different areas of expertise under one umbrella and get it all to function has just been phenomenal. So I'm really excited to be able to hop into Walt Disney astrological chart,
Yes.
and because again, Disney's one of my favorite companies just to even look at.
Wonderful. And let's see, we're going to go and play from start and turn my little pointer on here. And hopefully that's going to show up for you as a red pointer, Dr. Jonathan.
Wonderful.
It is the Sagittarian season, November 21st to December 20th. And as always, Dr. Jonathan, we must remind our viewers and listeners, every soul is called into existence to fill a definite cosmic need. And behind that is my passion, know your stars, follow your stars, evolutionary astrology. We take a look at Walt Disney. So Walt Disney, just a little bit of a background, because some people might know that, well, he arrived on the planet in 1901, and you can see that in his birth chart there, and he was only with us a short time. 1966, he departed. He was an American animator, film producer, voice actor. In fact, he is the voice of Mickey Mouse, the original and the original characters, and entrepreneur, to your point. A pioneer. He was a pioneer in the American animation industry. It didn't exist before Walt. He introduced several developments to the production of cartoons. You can now watch those still on Saturday mornings. As a film producer, he holds the record still for the most Academy Awards earned, that's 22, and nominations of 59.
Wow.
Certainly a very unique individual. And so one point about the birth chart, a few bits of lessons here. We are each one of a kind. Each and every one of us has a birth chart that is unique to our being. When you were born, the situation of the sky, the planetary positions, where the houses were lying, all of that created your cosmic blueprint. It is your portrait. I always recommend print it out and look at the power that is behind you, within you. And so a bit of a primer. This is an astrological wheel, 360 degrees, divided into 12 houses that are numbered 1 through 12. These numbers never move, 1 through 12. What determines the foundation of your individual chart is what sign was on the eastern horizon when you were born. And for Walt Disney, we see the sign of Virgo. So he had a Virgo rising. And Virgo is all about the servant. Virgo is the service. Virgo is mentor. Virgo is also discipline in a very big way. And so we see the sign of Virgo was his rising. And then we follow these pictures. We call these glyphs in astrology all around the wheel, and they will follow Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. We're going to talk about Sagittarius, and all the way around. So these are the zodiac signs. So we have houses, we have zodiac signs, and we have planets. Yes, the planets. The planets, the houses are the area of life that the planets live out in. That the planets exercise their personality within, and that gets mixed up with the sign that lives in the house, if you will, the sign of the house. So there's really 3 things that take place here, and it can get quite confusing. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I will say, when you join us for a Know Your Stars reading, I do include a bit of a primer, because I'm absolutely of the belief that you need to know just enough to know to follow your stars. So is that cool, Dr. Jonathan?
Yeah. Well, and even as I'm looking at the placement of the planets, and just us having my Know Your Stars session last week.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at how different it is, and just where everything is placed. So
Yes.
I'm sitting here looking like, okay, I think I know what this means. I think I know what this means. But yes, I think we are. I think we are good. But really appreciated you talking about that Virgo being the servant, but also being structured and disciplined. And I think about some of the people I know who have Virgo and energy. They operate in that way.
Oh, for sure. Daily habits are very important to Virgos. Daily habits. And well, what is interesting is your birth chart answers why you are here, reveals the life you are meant to live, reveals your karmic predicament. It absolutely does. I've shown you, Dr. Jonathan, and that resonated with some things that you would come to know, is the practical guide to life and the evolution of your soul. The astrology, your chart, is not the predictor of your life. It will not bring you, how do I say this? You have free will. And that's the beauty of life. You have free will, you have free will choice. And, sometimes we know that we've made the wrong decision. You just kind of know by gut that you made the wrong decision. Well, that was a free will choice that likely went against your star's energy. just by the way. So Walt Disney created the Magic Kingdom. He was born with a rising sign in Virgo, a moon in his first house. He was very disciplined, and it's in the sign of Libra. He would have approached his relationships with discipline. Certainly his business relationships would have been approached that way. But we're talking about Sagittarius. And here, this arrow here is the sign of Sagittarius. And Walt had his sun and Uranus in the sign of Sagittarius, and they are so close, they form what's called a conjunction in astrology, which is a meta energy. They become fused together. Sagittarians have an unquenching sense that just over the horizon lies a realm of pure magic. Just take that in for a moment, right? That's a Sagittarian. That certainly was Walt. With Sagittarius, we have the energy of faith, belief, and commitment, and mind-stretching experiences. The quest for the meaning of life. And so for all of our listeners now, I want you to start to open your mind-quenching experiences. So he had this meta energy down here. And what that would have wanted him to do, both of these two together are groundbreaking. Walt would have wanted to escape the tyranny of the familiar. The tyranny of the familiar. Uranus, also there in Sagittarius, is the out-of-the-box thinker. It's the rebel. It's the I will do it my way. It's the innovator. And Uranus seeks freedom from social constraint. Right? It's in the third house. Now, the third house is interesting. So we talk about the area of life that this energy was playing out with, by the way, the sign of Mercury. Mercury is the sign of perception and communication, writing, delivering words. And it also is in his third house, so it amps up this third house energy. Walt would have had expansive perceptive abilities to gather much information and the capacity to improvise. That is that energy. And to write and to communicate. He was a voice actor in the beginning of his career. I read about him on Wiki. It was very interesting. His voice was the voice of many of his characters.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in the beginning it was. And so I want to bring up something here. We've talked about the third house, we've talked about Mercury, and so I have to talk about what's called the Gemini clan, which is the third house, is Gemini, communication. Mercury is Gemini, and here's the sign of Gemini, up in the ninth house of Sagittarius. Interesting how that merges there. We find Pluto. Pluto is the wound that we seek to heal. And we're going to talk about Pluto with this Aquarian move of Pluto. But it's the wound that we seek to heal. So with Pluto's placement, it lets us know where in our chart, what area in our chart, what house, another reason to know your stars, where we must go to retrieve our soul. It's the soul that hurts, right? And for Walt Disney, his wound is in the ninth house, Gemini. This tells us that in previous lives, and we do know this, in previous lives, his voice was silenced. And he was forced to follow a particular dogma, could have been a religious dogma, some belief that was not his. And so in this lifetime, he comes born with Uranus in the sign of Sagittarius in the third house of communication, sitting right there with his sun, forming this I will shine energy that says, I will speak my voice. I will communicate my way this time. In his life, he would have endeavored to speak his own voice, right? His truth would have been the result of his experiences and not what other people forced upon him, his own experiences. Now, Dr. Jonathan, when we looked at your stars, I recall you had a very strong fourth house. And you had a strong 10th house. Now, more stronger, your 10th house was on fire, right? So 10th house is great works. It's the cosmic work. Those that are fired with a large 10th house are here to birth it out. Those that are fired with a large 4th house, it's all about, and he's got this stellium in Capricorn, again, too much astrology speak, but he's got this energy that says, I am here to serve my clan, roots, the people, the family, humans, us. He brought us all magic. And he had a lot of planets in the sign of Capricorn, which is hard work. He was a worker. And he had this Virgo thing that said work, work, work all the time. So he was a hard worker. And he had a vision. And in his 10th house, we see his vision in the sign of Neptune. Okay? Neptune is imagination and illusion. So imagine that his great work was in the area of imagination and illusion, and Neptune is the modern ruler of film. You know, when these planets, yeah, sure, when this was all came about ancient times ago, you know, film didn't exist, but film clearly falls with Neptune because it's all about illusion, isn't it? Right? So here was his 10th house energy saying his great work would be in the area of illusion, imagination, magic, and film. And it's in the healing sign of Cancer. So he's got a 10th house, Neptune, in the healing sign of Cancer, sitting right at 0 degrees, right on this point, Dr. Jonathan, is the career point. And all of our listeners, you'd want to know what your midheaven is and how that plays out in your life, because it's more than just going to work every day. It's the great work for which your soul was created to do. And we all want to understand that. So he was created to bring illusion and magic into the world in such a way that he would heal others.
That's
because
amazing.
It's amazing. Cancer is the healer. And so we see this set straight across against the 4th house, which is the house of the sign Cancer, the healer. She's got all this strong, hard work energy in the healing house of Cancer traditionally up against this Neptune in the 10th house of great works. So here he is with that healing Cancer Neptune. He was seeking to open his heart to other human beings. And serving others was a catalyst for his evolution. That is evolutionary astrology. I can absolutely show you, any evolutionary astrologer can, what the catalysts are for your healing. He was seeking to bring his voice out and serve others. And take a look at Virgo as his rising. He appeared to others to be a servant, and he was a servant. The roots of his great work in the 4th house, his clan is well, he had many. He certainly had the film industry, but he had the people. And he continues to heal, even though he left 1966. His brother carried on the work and built Epcot. But every time we see anything that comes out of the Disney creation, we're all healed. It's beautiful how he lived his work. Walt stretched his horizons, and he transformed perception for us. That's his Pluto. Pluto was transformation. Gemini is perception. He transformed his perception, our perception of what magic could be. And children and adults love Disneyland. It's the magic kingdom. Everything is possible, right? So much more I could say about Walt, but we must move on. Dr. Jonathan,
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, it's amazing. And again, as I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, let's move on because I could say something else, but I know we want to keep
It's
things.
amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Another reminder for our viewers and our listeners: when you don't follow your nature, your essence, there is a hole in the universe. where you were supposed to be. I want us all to imagine, tears in my eyes, if Walt didn't do what he was created to do. We wouldn't have the Magic Kingdom. And so, let's talk a bit about Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Sagittarians are, these folks, okay? They're the gypsies, they're the voyagers, they're the scholars, and they're the philosophers. So there's different stages of the Sagittarian in terms of youth of their soul, right? So in progression of their soul. But these are the seekers. And as I said, they have this unquenching sense that just over the horizon, they're very optimistic. Very optimistic. Think Santa Claus, optimistic. Saturn, is traditionally Sagittarius, Sagittarius rules religion. But more broadly, it rules our faith, our belief, and our commitment to mind-stretching experiences. In a positive energy sense, it's a sense of the big picture and a desire to be amazed. We all need to open up our eyes every day with that desire, just to be amazed, right? Negatively, we all live through this. It's a waste of life and energy, being limited by certain belief systems and narrow cultural perspectives that are fed to us from all sorts of different directions from the time we're born. However, our evolutionary aim is to expand your faith, belief, and consciousness as you seek to understand the ultimate meaning and purpose of life. Why evolutionary astrology is my passion. I believe that we all need to understand that and find true happiness by following our stars. Your action, our action, Dr. Jonathan, is to have a willingness to frame our existence as a quest for meaning. And with that, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Dr. Jonathan, on consciousness rising.
Yeah, absolutely. So even as, I guess, just to even maybe expand some of the things you were talking about, it's the quest for the meaning of life. Like, why are you here? Why are we here? And that's a lot of times the question that we're trying to figure out. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What are we doing here? So during the process, it's really the experience itself, being able to take in everything that's happening in that experience to understand that you are progressing and moving forward. But what I really like about the Sagittarian energy is because there's not that adherence to belief systems. Dr. Jeanne talked about not only ruling religion, but more faith overall. So it's not necessarily just adhering to one thing, because as you know, with your consciousness, as well as the consciousness of others, they rise in different directions, different paths, as we all are here for different reasons, which means that the consciousness could rise for different paths. So it's not an adherence to a particular belief system. It's a focus on consciousness and the experience itself. Then it also asks you to answer the mystery of your existence, right? How can you expand your horizons and let go of outdated belief systems? Those systems that are holding us back, that no longer serve us. If they no longer serve us, it's time to let it go. Mm-hmm. But then it also, as you shared, how strong is your faith in the fundamental laws of the universe? Now, I love this because it expands a lot of perspectives that could be narrow and focusing on particular belief systems. But what are the laws of the universe? The planets are moving. That impacts what's happening. And being able to look more universally at these concepts that are coming up in our lives is parallel to Sagittarian energy. So with Kansi Rise, we're offering the Know Your Stars because you want to understand, where do these particular energies lie at within my birth chart? Everybody's birth chart is unique. As we talk about, we share, even if it's twins, they will have different birth charts. So the questions become, what is the meaning of your life? Why are you here? What is it all about? What is the purpose of my being in this particular life? And you have to ask yourself, are you ready to really start to begin to understand and to have a visual that's illustrative so you can actually see where the planets and stars are at on your birth chart, and how is that playing into your purpose, what you're currently experiencing, because there's opportunity and opportunities to grow your consciousness, and that's why we're here.
Mhm. Very well said, Dr. Jonathan. Thank you for that. Oh, it's a great time of year, and happy holidays to everyone.
It's
Now,
coming up. It's coming
it's
up.
coming up. And now we come into something that by the time this recording is released will have just happened. And this is Pluto's movement into the sign of Aquarius. I've been talking about it since we first started meeting. The astrology world's been a buzz about it. This is very real generational energy shift. And when we talk about looking at our belief systems and questioning any dogma that we become a part of, we talk about transformation at a personal level. And so we're going to approach Pluto and Aquarius that way. And we're going to speak about it from a mundane level, which is what is happening in the world and what's happened in previous generations. I can tell you that Pluto, and you heard me talk about it in Walt's chart, Pluto is where we go to retrieve our soul. It's where the wounded parts are. Everybody needs to know where Pluto is playing out in their birth chart. It just would heal so much more to have that power of knowledge. Pluto brings truth and transformation. And so one small historical example would be in 1971, Pluto entered the sign of Libra. You know, we all love relationships. It's a love-hate relationship with relationships. But Pluto caused those that were in marriages to look at the truth of their relationship, and it triggered transformation, and it triggered the biggest divorce rate that society around the world had ever seen. So it brings about change. Now, was that change for the good? Well, probably, if people are together and they shouldn't be. So Pluto causes us to heal the wounded parts, but it does that by bringing us truth, looking at that wound straight on, and transforming. Pluto is the sign of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. So as I talk about the slide, I want everybody to be optimistic about what's happening. We cannot change it. We can't stop it. Pluto is always going to move. It's going to be in Aquarius until January 2044. This is 20 years. This is 20 years of social and meta-political transformation. The myth of our world as we understand it will transform. Those of us that are left struggling through this change will be those that hang on to limited belief systems. We must all grow.
Yeah, and I'll just add, even during like during this time, as you mentioned, the type of energy that Pluto brings is transformative. But there does not mean that with transformation, with change, that there isn't maybe pain or change is hard, right? Transformation is difficult.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so phenomenal when you said the illustration of the caterpillar to the butterfly.
That's Pluto.
So I'm looking at this just visually
Mm,
as a process for the next 20 years.
yes.
We're in the caterpillar state. Towards the end, we're going to be a butterfly. So during that process, there's going to be transformation, though possibly difficult, depending on how you're looking at it. The transformation is happening. So then as these things that may seem difficult that we're experiencing, how do we keep in the back of our mind to know we're on our way to becoming that beautiful butterfly?
Absolutely. Pluto is also the eagle soaring. I want everybody to keep that in mind. It's the phoenix rising. And how difficult Pluto will be depends on its placement in your chart at the moment of birth, because that allows us to understand what house is it sitting in. I know that it's in the sign of Aquarius, but what I don't know is, until I meet everybody, hopefully one day, what I don't know is what part of your life does Aquarius govern. And so Pluto is difficult, uncomfortable, but it can be marked with victory, spiritual progress, psychological growth, energy, joy, and vitality. All wonderful, but not easy. The themes of Aquarius are innovation, independence, and technology. We should all view this as a great time for personal growth and transformation. In the realm of our chart that Pluto governs, now that is us as individuals. Truthfully, and of course, you know, the whole world is going to experience this, but each person will experience it on a different level. But we'll all be taken along in the tide of the collective, right? Everything is changing. I will tell you, everything is changing. There is no going back to the way it used to be. That's hanging on to the old dogma. Those days are gone. They're never coming back. We're making better days. We're making newer days. And if we get this right, I want to say this loud and clear. If we get this right, we save humanity. I think we could all say clearly that there's a lot of stuff going on out there, right? There's a lot of stuff. And this is humanity's moment to rise above. And so when you know your stars, you understand your role in getting it right. There are 8 billion, give or take, people on the planet right now, all making choices. And the choices that we make individually lead into the collective consciousness of getting it right. We are writing humanity's next chapter. The fact that we're all here now is not by coincidence. There are no coincidences. And so we're all here now to take part in it. And this is going to be hard work, but we're defining a new set of values by which humanity can navigate into a fairer, more sustainable future. I mean, look at the struggle between humans, look at the planet. We're really coming into a different time. Success lies in the willingness to face our own darkness. And whatever area of your life Aquarius is playing out, to face that darkness and have faith that getting it right will be rich beyond measure. We must hold the faith. We'll be challenged. All of us will be challenged to create new ways of thinking, working, interesting, and living. You know, Pluto was in Capricorn. Capricorn brought down a lot of the structure of the work environment. You know, remote working, I loved it when I was still in that world and, you know, zooming into office every day. We'll be pushed. Where am I here? Yes. Here. We'll be pushed to break away from outdated systems and limitations. So again, those that want to hang on to the past are going to have a difficult time. We will witness a time, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, we are going to witness a time of radical social and political upheaval. We're going to see it. The last time Pluto was in the sign of Aquarius was 1788, 89, if I'm getting my dates wrong, but it was Um, the American Revolution. It was the French Revolution. It was the Industrial Revolution. It was the age of we the people and enlightenment in terms of we coming up as individuals that had rights. The United States was founded, the Constitution was founded, the Declaration of Independence, and that was just America's way of bringing it about. But this was happening around the world. People were becoming valuable, right? So we're going to see more of that energy, but we've come a long way from 248 years ago, which is Pluto's rotation around the sun, and we're now in new times. So we'll be challenged. The highest values we should be seeking to attain is humanitarianism, great word, knowledge, reason, innovation, and people. People coming together, working towards a great goal. We will learn, this will happen. And it's already started happening because that's what Pluto does, is it's leaving a sign. It was leaving Capricorn, had been there since 2008. It couldn't rightfully enter Aquarius and set us up for this time unless it started tearing down old structures. And it did that quite a bit. I've seen so much change in these last number of 16 years, I guess it's been, where we do appreciate more the unique qualities of each individual that will grow. We are forging a we collaborative, a collective society. This is the best of us. It's a new social paradigm. It's the best of us if we make the right choices and we get it right. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't get caught up in the whole social media dogma. Worry about your choices. Know what you should be doing with your Pluto and Aquarius energy, and live your part. What can we expect? Well, a lot. Technology will take over. There will be significant innovation in AI and robots. And for those of us that have feared, because I believe I'm getting over that, AI. I was reading something about Pluto moving around a bit, and oh yes, it was the last time. So it was in Aquarius. The folks in London was becoming so overpopulated and everything was horses that there was talk about the horse dung would be so deep, people wouldn't be able to get around. Well, what happened? The automobile was created, right? So, and people thought the automobile would be the end of everything, but it brought a lot of good. So what we want to do is look for the good side in all of these innovations. Aquarius is innovation. Robots, science is key. We will see technological breakthroughs in health. Health is going to be done very differently. It's going to be less barbaric, in my belief. Self-sustaining communities will be formed with food at the core. The dynamics of relationships and marriage will change. The trend to work from home will grow. There will be an increase of humanitarian work and professions. So let's think about the fact that AI will be doing a lot of things that people do. Well, doesn't that free people up to do more humanitarian work for the better of the whole?
Well,
Yeah, right?
I was just going to say that even when you look at even how certain populations have evolved, so you look at even like the ancient African society of Kemet, right?
Mhm.
And who really created like a lot of the basis of modern day astrology and astrological beliefs, but they got to a point in society where they were able to take care of a lot of these basic things and started to look at the stars. They recorded what was happening. And
Yeah,
it allowed, just like you said, as people did not have to work so much and not have to do
right.
these things that we have to do on a regular basis, the mind then can evolve more consciously because you have more time to think. And that's what they did. I also want to just mention, as you mentioned, the technological breakthroughs in health and that Pluto
Mhm.
energy being able to transform things. And that's one thing that we're looking to do with Consi Rise is to be a leader in that. And we want to be able to show that there are different ways to look
Yes.
at health and wellness. And even if someone does have a perspective of being able to know how particular planets are playing out in their houses in their astrological chart, that then provides different information and context if you're going through something. I can
Absolutely.
recall when I was in one of my previous roles and I was going through a particular situation, if I would have had the basis of knowing what my chart said. Now, as I look back now, I'm like, oh, it makes complete sense. But just knowing if I had the insight as I was going in and having these meetings with people, it would have just changed the dynamic of my meditations, right? So I just think about, as you mentioned and went through this section about what to expect with the AI and with the health, knowing that and having perspective of those things, we are looking to be at the forefront of those things with even the conversation that we're having now, which is we look at what we're doing as innovation. Like, who's talking about Walt Disney's astrological chart in a way that people understand? So, and again, we're not, even as we're talking and we're talking about these changes in a positive manner. We're not talking about them in a way of trying to scare
No.
or be fearful. We're talking about evolution and transformation and increasing of consciousness. The caterpillar becoming a butterfly.
Absolutely, Dr. Jonathan. This is the How We Heal podcast. And so this is all about healing. And Dr. Jonathan and I started this because we know that when you know your stars and can follow the energies of your stars, you are better able to heal your wounds and heal the things that you're going through in life. And so when we talk about technological breakthroughs in health, where I believe we're talking about that in the essence of energy healing. So energy healing is going to reach into the sphere of medical healing. So here we have the allopathic versus the homeopathic healing methodologies. And we will see energy go that way. One fun thing is space travel is going to increase, and we're seeing that already, and connections with other forms of life. So I will ask our audience again, time to know your stars. What arena of your life will transform? Because it will. It will. When you know better, you do better. Maya Angelou. So, well, won't spend much time here. We've done this in the past, but new moon, full moon, your new moon, time for new moon wishes about your belief in the meaning of life is December 1st. As you can see here, the new moon will be in the sign of Sagittarius. That would be the time to handwrite your new moon wishes and intentions. And the full moon is on December 30th. This is the time to journal about your path to mastery. I want everybody to think about the 10th house in their birth chart, the great cosmic work for which they were put here to do, the meaning of their life, and how to obtain that path to mastery. That's what the full moon journaling is all about. And we went by that rather quickly because I wanted to spend more time on the generational energies. We went through this quite a bit back in August, Dr. Jonathan, but we've arrived. Pluto is now in Aquarius. There you go. It's all about we the people. Last time it was there, 1776, that era of time. Has that 248-year orbit. But what's coming up next? Well, these are unprecedented times. All three outer planets, which are generational energies, are shifting signs. Neptune, in March of 2025, that's next year now, will go into the sign of Aries. This is going to be interesting. This is the warrior, Aries energy. It's the pioneer, also Aries energy, and the fight for independence, right? Uranus, in 2026, will move into the sign of Gemini. Gemini will revolutionize communication and transportation. And that has an 84-year orbit. And I would also want to point out that Aquarian energy is Uranian energy. It's Uranus. And it's all about our individuating ourselves, yet being part of the collective. And when Pluto is in Aquarius, we will see rules being broken and authority being questioned. That will be part of the transformation. Thoughts, Dr. Jonathan?
Yeah, well, even as you, well, I'll just say, like, just as I look and you talked about these generational energies, right? These outer energies that are all moving. So it's a lot of things that are happening right now, which
Mm,
even makes me, this is a reminder that I'm gonna actually go back and look at my chart to even
mhm.
see what is going to be happening. And as these generational energies are moving, if
Yeah.
you again want to see how these energies are playing out, because they're playing out differently in everybody's lives, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you want to be able to understand how they're playing out in your life, that's one of the things of why we're here and why we're doing this, because we want people to be informed, because we
Yes.
believe being informed increases the consciousness. And we're here with consciousness rising, consciously rise. That's why we're here. So that's probably the only thing that I would add to that piece, Dr. Jeanne.
Beautifully said. Yes. Thank you. And so we move along and we come to the end of our day today, Dr. Jonathan. We always try to keep it quick so people can listen in to the whole thing.
Absolutely. So again, Dr. Jeanne, thank you so much for your wonderful expertise.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for even picking someone who's from Walt Disney. So to even be able to learn about Walt Disney in this way was phenomenal. And again, as I just shared, I won't belabor it, but we're here to help increase consciousness. That's why we're here. That is why we're here. And Know Your Stars is a way to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
ConstantRise.com, Dr. Jeanne, Evolutionary Astrologer. We thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again soon. Have
Yes, we'll see you next month. We're going to talk about Capricorn and all that hard work.
next month. Absolutely. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye bye.